Top stitching is optional on the Riley top and dress, but I think it adds a really professional finish, and it's also a fun way to practice stitching. And the first one that I'm going to do is along either side of the seam that I've just sewn to join the front sleeve to the front and the back sleeve to the back. So what you need to do is just remember a couple of things. First of all, when top stitching, you need to remember that because you're using a heavier weight thread, and the reason you do that is so that they show more definition, is to use a top stitch needle, and the eye of the needle is larger. So what it basically means is it can physically handle the heavier thread as well. So first of all, pop the top stitch needle into your machine, and I can show you that in a moment. And then in terms of thread weight, I really like these two. I use the Aurifil 28 weight. So if you think a regular thread is normally 50 weight, it's a smaller number but a heavier thread. So 28 weight on the grey spools gives really nice stitches, and I love this colour that I've got here. Or I've also gone heavier, and this is the Aurifil 12 weight. It's still a cotton thread, and this you get the kind of effect that like you would down the seams on jeans basically when you stitch with this one. And so I put those on to the top of my sewing machine, and then I would do some test runs to see if the weight of the bobbin, which you can keep as the same colour that you've been sewing up with because it's underneath inside the garment, just make sure that the tension's correct and that they work okay together before you set off. To insert the top stitch needle into your machine, obviously follow your own instructions, but here it's a case of unscrewing the needle here. Obviously make sure that your sewing machine is switched off in case you hit the foot pedal and stitch through your finger. So remove that. I also find it easier if the presser foot is off and out of the way. And then your top stitch needle will have a flat section on the back there which goes towards the back, and then you just slide it into position and hold it, and make sure you also tighten that screw up with the screwdriver, and then you can thread up your machine. I've just done a test strip, so I've set my stitch length to 3.5. Again, for top stitching you don't want it too small, and it looks really nice on the top, and underneath I've kept the regular thread which is almost invisible. So that's a good combo, and I'm now ready to go. And what you just need to do is, depending where you want your top stitching, but I think it's easier really to make it as accurate as possible. If you put the edge of your regular foot on the seam that you've stitched and pop your needle down, you then use that as your guide, and really just go nice and slowly, just allowing it to take all its stitches. You can do a little reverse at the beginning and at the end to keep the top stitching in place before you add the facings on, and just follow, so not looking at the needle, I'm following the seam line, and because it's a curve I'm just gently using my fingers to move the fabric as I work my way around. So I'll just pause, and you can see there that that's working nicely, and then you can top stitch from the other side as well. But with top stitching it's personal choice, you can do as much or as little as you want. It's seen from the outside of the garment, it's decorative, it's not holding it together, so it's a little bit of creativity for you to add to your garment.